Because we're in this space right now where scheduled television and all these kind of things are becoming outdated, and and on the online space is kind of where this content is going to sit. So what do you see in the future? Like, what's going to happen? Hey everyone, welcome to VidCon. I am here with the man himself, Hank Green, who is the founder of VidCon. So thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, it was wonderful to be in your tiny little cube.
Thank you. Welcome to my home. First of all, before we get started, I just want to say major kudos to you and thank you for creating this. I've been on YouTube for 10 years. And so I've vlogged since 2007, my journey, moving to Australia, everything like that. And I was alone. Like, it was just me. I was the weird girl at school with her camera at all times. So if I would have had you, this would have been the greatest gift. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, it's really awesome to be in Melbourne. The people here are so great. I have had a fantastic time, and I'm so happy. I mean, we're sort of like in the trailing stretch now, and so like I'm starting to feel that glow of like we did it and it was a success.
Yes.
So
amazing. And so you are a creator yourself. Mm-hmm. So I want to hear more about your journey. And so when did you start realizing that you loved making things, if that may be music or digital or like playing with the art of language?
I mean, I always loved the opportunity that the internet gave, because I was on the internet pretty early for a 37-year-old, and I love the opportunity that like I could have my voice heard, and I had a little website when I was in high school, and that meant that I got to talk to people who didn't know that I was in high school, and I could like talking to professionals about cool sciencey stuff. And sort of from that, when my brother got super obsessed with online video, I was like pretty ready to jump into that thing that he was getting into. And when he was like, maybe we should like, would you like to do a video project with me? I just said yes. And then I was a YouTuber before that was a thing.
Yeah. And so how has your content changed throughout the years, and how has it changed you?
I mean, making stuff, no matter how you're making stuff, I feel like it does change who you are. Like, it's a great self-reflection. It also, you build skills, and so whatever you're doing, like, obviously I've gotten better at editing video, but I feel like I've also gotten better at, like, talking and communicating and, like, tapping into, like, my confidence in a way that I didn't have before I spent a lot of time talking to the internet. And so there is that transition of like me as a person, but in terms of the kind of content that we create, it's really wonderful to have a channel on Vlogbrothers. We have several channels, but on Vlogbrothers where it can be whatever I feel like doing that week. So I made a daily vlog this week, and the week before that I made a video about how hurricanes form. So like I kind of whatever I'm curious about, I can do a bunch of research, I can make a video, I could just go out on the town and film some stuff and see what I can cut together. And every video can be a different thing, whereas our formatted channels, like SciShow, is like, this is what it is. We're talking about science. We're going to talk about science every day forever. And that's also great, and it makes it easier. It makes it easier to make more content and to have people who are working on it with us and not just be a one-man show. But I also really like the opportunity to always be trying something different, because that's really creatively fulfilling.
I can just echo that, absolutely. Yeah. Like, that resonates with me so strongly. I feel like YouTube almost raised me as a person to be who I am, it was because I could constantly push my limits and push my comfort zone, and you're just like, well, I'm vlogging, so like I get to like dance around like a chicken right now if I want to, and like just do whatever you want. And so just watching my early day videos and seeing like how I grew, I think it's such a beautiful thing, and constantly playing with the art form and being interested in different things and communicating that with the world. And so, just like being here and like looking around and seeing all the creators and their different niches, from people that, just bake amazing cakes to doing beauty vlogs or like incredible photography. How do you see the future of content changing, right? Because we're in this space right now where scheduled television and all these kind of things are becoming outdated, and and on the online space is kind of where this content is going to sit. So what do you see in the future? Like, what's going to happen?
I always look at it through the lens of media that has changed over the years. Like, there used to just be theater, and then there was like radio, like there's books that kind of were taking over for what theater was doing, but like just because there was books doesn't mean there wasn't theater. Just because there's radio doesn't mean there's not books. Just because there's TV doesn't mean there's not radio. So you definitely have the things, they change what they are. Like radio now isn't what radio was in the 1920s. But so definitely things are going to change. Those changes might be painful. People might lose their jobs, have to go on to different careers. But when I look at like how online video itself is going to change, what's interesting to me, is not like, of course, like what having on Netflix or Amazon. Like that's not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about passionate, creative, personality-based, or like technique-based things that people are making on the internet. A lot of times just on their own or with a small team. And what I think about what I've sort of realized is that that's a lot more like the music industry than it is like the video industries that currently exist. And so thinking about it in terms of like how did the music industry evolve is maybe a good framework for like, because I'm not going to say like here's what's going to happen, but it's nice to look at it like here, like what's the frame we should be looking at it through. And to imagine it in terms of like how do bands work, how did bands work, how do they make a living, and also like how there are, there's some Rihannas and Lady Gagas out there, but the vast majority of working musicians are, they make sort of a normal wage, and that is an opportunity that music had and has had for a long time, but that video has never had, to have this like broad variety of video-based creation that can be a career for people.
Okay. Amazing. And so tell me maybe do you have like a secret passion or something that you love that like no one ever asks you about? Like something that's like untalked about, like, may it be like for like underwater dancing or something like that. Like, what is it?
I mean, everything eventually is going to come out in a video one way or another. But so like a lot of it's out. But I am like really obsessed with. I mean, the big overview of it is like simple things that like we take for granted that are actually very complicated. So something as well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily seem simple, but like how airports work, like how the bags get to the plane and the food gets on the plane and the fuel gets on the plane and and the plane has to take off. And like everybody has to take off at the right time so nobody's waiting on the runway for too long, and then when they're landing all the planes have to just land, so they're not flying around waiting for a chance to land. They all have to arrive at the right times, it's scheduled correctly to get to their gate just in time for them to be on time. That, like the logistics that go into that, this is the nerdiest thing to love, but I just want to know everything about how I get from Missoula, Montana to Melbourne. Like, that's what? How did that work? But like in the same vein, like your clothes, like how did that shirt get made? So much work went into that, not just like to make that one shirt, but to develop all of the techniques that to harness whatever, probably cotton, to make that into that, but also the techniques that went into figuring out how to build the machines that maybe built the machines that actually weave to your shirt. Things like that. Those are my secret passions. And I love shipping and logistics, and I love looking at ports and watching giant ships. I'm basically a 6-year-old.
I love that question so much because I feel like I got to have like a deeper insight into your mind, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, and I think that creative people is just that we're just so curious. Yeah. Like we're just so curious, and it's just like how do things work and how do we improve things, and I love that. I want to ask you 1,000,000 questions, but we don't have so much time, unfortunately. And we know statistically that you guys are only going to be engaged for a certain amount of time, so we hope that you stuck around till now. Hank, maybe just leave us with one message that you want to share with the world, like something that you maybe, like, let's imagine the entire world was watching now, right? Like the entire space of YouTube, Facebook, etc. Everyone was watching. What would just be like the one thing, if you had the whole world's attention, what would you like to leave them with?
Oh my gosh. Well, love each other. Jeez. And yeah, that's a lot of pressure. This is a lot of pressure for this little box.
This little room.
This room is suddenly being much smaller. Don't forget to be awesome and make stuff.
love each other, G's. Don't forget to be awesome and make stuff. Okay, it's been so much fun. I've been Virginia Salas Castillo and Hank Green from VidCon.